All right, my name is Olli-Pekka Mäkirintala and coming from a company called AutoGame. And what we do, later in the presentation I can show a little bit what we actually do, what are our games or gamified environments. But during the presentation I will go through much of the experiences and notifications and things what we have experienced using gamified environments in the area of innovation and training. And they are very new, so the games are very new what we have developed, and that's why, of course, our experiences are a little bit limited, but we have seen all the things happening, what we decided, what we are aiming at when we started. So, my background, I have a software background, business background, and including Nokia, and even made in Finland long time ago licentiate thesis on software quality, and at the same time when I finished the thesis I noticed that waterfall model is outdated and doesn't work very well, and started to look at lean and related things in a little bit different area than software. Our co-founder, we have two in our company, Olli-Pekka Mäkirintala, former professional violist, musician, and then doctor in behavioral sciences, and we started giving face-to-face trainings. But at one point, or even in the beginning, we started to think about that what can we do even better than traditional face-to-face workshop or trainings. What kind of things we can improve? Not saying that we totally phase out face-to-face or do something like that, but how can we create tools which helps people, especially in this innovation and agile transformation area. By the way, our co-founder also made first doctoral thesis in Finland around coaching. So, but what I see business agility, what I think agility today is a little bit same as in the first presentation today, that we need to have innovation and vision, which is the thing that drives the growth. Agility, more or less, is the one where we have timely results and we can ensure scaling up. And this innovation, it's of course buzzword, but even Boston Consulting Group says that growth through innovation is high on CEOs' agendas. One simple reason, it's the way how we can really achieve superior performance. But the problem, not so much in software, but in general industry, that people don't get it. If you look at, if you have looked at, for example, Finnish companies in stock-listed Finnish companies, there are not very many who are making profits today through innovation or increasing their businesses. Most of them are making through cost cutting. Okay, let's talk about this content. I will talk about two areas, as I said, innovation, creative problem solving, and another is training and practicing. And these pictures here, we are like in this lower one, that I'm the red guy there and you are the blue persons there. But what we need to do in every workshop or every training is to go this area of lateral thinking, which is another picture. I don't know how many of you know what is the background of the term lateral. Does anybody know? It's an old term, but it's introduced 1960s by Edward de Bono, who has developed plenty of innovation tools, because he thought that the word creativity has suffered from inflation, used too much and in wrong consequence, or in wrong environments. And the lateral means basically that we have a vision, we are going somewhere, we know where we are going, which is for every Scrum team, every agile organization, one of the important things. But we need to go lateral sometimes when we innovate something new. We have to think differently. And one example of lateral in businesses has been, for example, development of iPhone. It started by development of iPad. But at some point of time, Apple realized that its best opportunity to really make money and get new customers and what etc. is to innovate a phone instead of iPad. And they developed the iPhone. Okay, then they came back to the original route and developed also the iPad. Lateral, we can have a simple exercises and you all can, how can I say, develop your own competencies in lateral, thinking about, for example, that, or a simple question, how do you describe this room? Can anybody describe something in this room, in this traditional meeting room or training room? We can say that we have here chairs, we have tables, PCs, something else. That's the normal way. But we can also describe that we have here aluminium, we have wood, we have some plastic maybe, or we can describe it, we have gray, we have a brown, we have a purple, whatever. Every of these descriptions are correct ones, but they are different, and one of them is what we typically think in our logical thinking. Lateral means that we start to look at things different way. And face-to-face, what we can do in face-to-face. We can discuss, we can participate, we can practice and learn from each other. We can benchmark how people from different parts of organizations are doing things. We can have a trainer or facilitator who guides sessions. And we can have facilitated group decisions, for example. These are examples. But what are the problems where we can do even better than in face-to-face? And one is, of course, one is, of course, the cost. If we have people in the same room, hopefully many of the Scrum teams are currently in the same space, it's very easy to arrange face-to-face workshop. However, if we want to have customers there in our workshop, if we want to have network partners, if we have a distributed organization, it starts to be costly because we have to have travel, we have to book meeting rooms, we have to do many things, or people are using time for it. But another thing which is even more important is the time issue, be it training, be it workshop. How about if we get results in 1 hour instead of months? We are locating in Helsinki and in London, and in London I was once in a meeting where chief design officer of Barclays Bank, Barclays is one of those very large banks in the world, he arranged a workshop, 100 their own people and 250 people invited from startups. And I asked that why, and he answered that okay, we want to know what is happening in finance and technology in areas in startups, because we need to develop our technology, we need to have a new things what we can do. But another thing what he said was that when I decided that we need to in Barclays Bank to do something with our technology strategy, it took 3 months to arrange the first meeting where I get all the people in the same room from different parts of the Barclays technology development. And then he said that I visited San Francisco and Silicon Valley and looked at startups there. And when I learned that some of them say that, okay, in 44 hours we go to the customers and discuss that what could be the next thing we can develop, or will this be a good idea for you, etc. Then he said that I realized that we will be phased out from the equation if we don't do something different. Then a little bit more behavior-related things. And communication is one thing. Do you think we are open in communication? Or do you think we communicate honestly in our team meetings? Most probably not. And let's have a short mental exercise, 1 minute. Think about the guy next to you or in your organization, and think about you are telling him one new idea or one problem. And then do the same, thinking about that you are telling it to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or somebody else. Imagine 1 minute. Okay, did you notice any difference? So you go, oh, that's great if you can go to and tell your great idea to Steve Jobs and Bill Gates same way as, or problem, same way as you are telling to the member of your team. But basically, and it's also related to the roles, there are two things, and group dynamics. And in behavioral science, we talk about that people take always roles when they are part of the team or part of the organization. And that's good thing, because then we can expect how people behave in teams. But if you think about creative point of view and learning point of view, it's also a bit problematic, because when we have roles, we tend to behave like expected. And we don't normally throw in very stupid ideas, especially if we are expert in our organization, or if we are boss in our organization. We don't many times challenge the things in many organizations or many teams. And then there are this thing that discussion is led or dictated by experts, bosses, and that happens even we have a flat organization. Somebody is always considered to be the expert there, somebody who knows the product, somebody who knows the software code, somebody who knows the customer, etc. And in Finland, how can I say, the main official innovation person, Petri Peltonen, who is heading the innovation department in the Ministry of Trade and Employment, he said that the virtual world could be very, very great, because whenever he visits any kind of meeting or workshop where there is a talk of innovation, everybody is waiting for his first comment, and the discussion always starts there. And sometimes, again, discussion is led by somebody, and the discussion is then ended somewhere. And then we have in our teams, we have people who are a little bit more extrovert, a little bit more introvert. Extrovert means that people who are really, typically they are very quick and very enthusiastic to tell things, to talk. And then we have people who are introvert, who are slower. Typically they think first and speak after. or they are better in writing things instead of talking. And one example where we used our game was one software company and their management team, and they had a problem that how can ordinary citizens, how can they get ordinary citizens to pay the service which is normally paid by public sector. I think it was healthcare application. And they have been thinking this more than 1 year in management team meetings. And they played the game, and after the game, managing director said that in 45 minutes they were able to create many new workable ideas than in more than 1 year in normal team meetings and workshops. And then we analyzed what happened. And one thing, the second thing I will discuss later, but one thing was that they had in management team very good experts who knew very well, in fact, their customer situations and something what is happening there, but they have never been able to really express their ideas because managing director, they have discussed the problem, but too soon there was a decision that okay, now we have discussed, now it's time to move on to the next item in our agenda. And that's the power when you get people to speak differently. Starting discussion in somewhere else than normally and make it, how can I say, more democratized, the discussion. So lateral challenging approaches are in fact pretty difficult to reach in normal workshops or normal training sessions. Of course we can have techniques where we can help people, but normally not. And about these roles, another example what we have seen in our game was one training organization. They played the game, and after the game, one lady stood up that who played character named Laura, and nobody answered. And then she asked again that please tell me who played character Laura. And then one guy with a suit, tie, little bit more senior guy stood up and answered that I played Laura. And the lady answered, you. I have never known that you are so compassionate and cooperative. And we have been working together more than 15 years. That's the power when people throw out job roles. And that's normal roles what the people are expected to do. The behavioral part of it is that people always behave in a way, not always, but most of the people behave in organizations in a way that they expect that other people think that they should behave. And if we can develop the tools to help people to throw out the roles, then we have a really good space and opportunity that we will get really groundbreaking ideas. And if we are developing some new, for example, new ways how we implement Scrum or Agile ways of working, we can get really different kind of discussion. How shall we do things? Where we need to improve? And what shall we do next? And decision making, how do we really make them? Do we listen to everybody in normal meetings? And I have seen many times this happening, that some people are quick, they are going forward. In the first session they was thinking that fast is not exactly what is the best thing every time. And then we may have this guy there who is slow, introvert, but knows exactly what could be the best decision for our problem or best way to move forward. But by the way, this is especially in Finland, not so much, a little bit also in UK, but very much in Finland, that people are so busy that they don't listen what is happening outside and what kind of things they can test, try, and save millions. Training practicing, what can we do? We do with this and simulations. The thing what we do normally in whatever kind of change. This is example when somebody starts Agile, but this happens every time. We have a face-to-face course, meeting, or workshop, starting change project, face-to-face. This is what we do next time. Then we go and try it in practice. In Scrum we have a sprint. Then we have a retrospective, and we learn that we didn't know exactly what we are doing. We didn't know, for example, our velocity. We didn't know how to really work in this new mode, requiring, for example, self-directing, very good communication, making everything visible, etc. What we do next? So the problem is that the learning is quite slow, and it's real life learning, meaning that, for example, if we have a sprint, somebody is waiting us to also deliver something, to get something done, to keep our promises. And there we may face troubles. Okay, then we can have an agile coach, and this is one way to accelerate learning. We can avoid some basic traps. We can get some coaching help, that when we face problems, somebody can guide us that shall we really carry out or execute daily scrums and sprint planning, etc. But still, we have this quite long learning path or cycle. What we can do is really start to think about that. Can we add somewhere? There are examples of, we call it in our company, lean learning loops, that where we can really quickly practice something and practice things what we can't do in real life. What I mean is, for example, if in different area, if we have a new pilot in our air carrier company, for example, Finnair or Air France, they will practice using simulations, that what do they do if something fails when they are piloting Airbus or whatever plane. Those are quite natural. Those are the things we can't do in real life. But it same applies or here, or we can use the same principles, meaning that if we know that next sprint or next period we will have new customers which can be really difficult ones. They don't know anything about Agile, for example, or we need to train them or whatever. We can practice how this goes. Or we can train people to see the systemic view of the organization or the team. What does it mean to be CEO of the company? How do they see our Agile or Scrum work? Or if I'm a CEO, what about if I am a team member? Or if I want to be a Scrum Master, what is expected from me? And that's one way how you can also teach other people in your organization to really learn quick and fast that what does Scrum or Agile mean in our organization, or take even outsiders. Like is this innovation, what I didn't say is that if you use virtual tools wisely, you can of course collect people from outside, people from US customers, whatever network partners, or even John Smith from the street, and help you to innovate that what is really the next feature we need to develop for our product. And in retrospective, the typical thing what happens is that people, or it is asked that what did go well, what didn't go so well. Instead we can, okay, let's plan, we know what is in front of us in the next 4 weeks. Let's try it, let's practice it. People have tacit knowledge, we can try what is happening, and then, as in with virtual tools in general, everything can be saved in the log, so we can learn, and we can think what we need to do differently when we go in real life, when we visit the customer. Okay, and those are the things what we try to do in virtual world, and so break patterns, break the systemic or implement the systemic approach to teamwork, so that we get teams out of their comfort zone, do something differently than they do in their normal working space or meeting space. Break the pattern of linear thinking, and that's where we use art in our especially in the first tool, which is for brainstorming, and get the people out of their normal logical thinking. And this is old Edward de Bono exercise. You can try this exercise whenever you like, and it means that you take a picture, you take a word from the book, you take a piece of music or some object, and this contains all the answers to your questions. It's only your job to find them. And this is something you can do by yourself. It's mental development or competence development. Positive body-mind experience that can be transferred into real life. That's why in athletics, in sports, they do mental exercises. Our brains don't know if we have simulated something, if we have done mental exercise, or if we have done it in real life. That's why mental exercises are so powerful. We can remove all unnecessary obstacles like getting people in the same place and whatever. We can practice challenges without real life consequences, and that's where we say that we can simulate our sprint without real life consequences. Test something differently, see what happens, and then either change our way of working or not. And then learn fast and efficiently, utilizing metaphors. Metaphors is very, very, very powerful tool. We have sometimes used example that if you take a flag of certain country, if you think about it, it's only some material, nothing else. But if you think about what flag means in most countries for the people, it's a very powerful metaphor of something togetherness or something what is the whole idea of the country. And we can of course get data for analyzing and learning purposes and save time and money. And what we have done and where we have experienced and we have tested with different teams our products, we have two. One is for facilitating brainstorming and innovation, which is really for that. And the idea is that you can have whatever type of question and you can solve it with your team or invite whoever you like. And then another product where you can practice and simulate your sprint. It's a simulation tool, gamified simulation tool, where you can really practice without real life consequences, practice different roles, different challenges, etc. And the key thing, our product, what we started to really think of from the beginning, that which is in fact different compared to many tools available, that we have a really real life question and not something artificial. And I think we don't have time today, but one exercise what you can do by yourself or with a mate in your team is thinking about the problem, what you really want to solve, and then thinking about what's the question behind it. And that's in fact a very good tool for any kind of workshop, any kind of meeting. And Albert Einstein was once asked that if you have a 60 minutes time to save the earth, what will you do? Do you know what was his answer? Have somebody heard this? He said that I will use 55 minutes to think about what is the right question to be solved. And then the implementing and solving the question is not a problem. It may be a problem, but the main thing is that I need to know what I need to be solving, so that I am not doing something which is totally nobody cares, which is not helping us. And based on something like 400 games so far, what we have learned. When we don't have hierarchy and we have anonymity there, nobody knows who is playing which character, nobody knows who is expert, nobody knows who is boss, nobody knows who is totally external. There can be totally different group dynamics than in any workshops I have seen in my career. And there is no hierarchy. Discussion can start everywhere and can be whatever. When we have real life questions and challenges in gamified environment, it's a very interesting environment. We have characters, so we identify somewhere, but it's not me who is in the virtual world, it's character. And I can really throw out my role and start thinking about the wildest ideas or concerns or whatever I like to express. And then we have metaphors and art to catalyze creative thinking and getting complete documentation. The thing what we know is that this kind of tools, we have experience of this particular tool, we know that it produces totally different results than any workshop. And sometimes they are really powerful results, sometimes not so powerful. But anyway, totally different than any normal team meetings. Okay, there are some examples. Okay, some comments, and in fact this is from Dell UK, this sales executive comment that they have a problem how to really sell for a certain group in their certain customer target group, and they have junior sales people and they have senior sales people, but they don't get them really work together. And he is now very soon testing this product. We don't know what will happen, but he said that if I can get 10% more out of the knowledge what our people as a team have, doing it differently than in traditional meetings or teleconferences, we can earn millions per year. In software, we have also tested software Scrum teams, and the comment what we have seen is that the discussion is again different than in normal daily Scrums or normal sprint plannings. Okay, this is quickly summarizing our experiences. What is also behind our tool and can be behind in virtual tool, that you learn the new things. You learn to see things from different point of view. You learn to try. You learn to not so much assuming how people should behave. You learn to be more open. And when I told the example of this training organization, we phoned them afterwards and asked what has happened, and we got the answer that their meetings are now much more open. So people in one experience, only using one experience, they learned that how to really discuss more openly, which again helps us to make better results, better decisions. But of course, this is new paradigm, and see and experience. People know when they see, or believe when they see. All right, I think I have used my time. If you like to see examples how it works, I can even show a demo today, or then what I can do, you can ask questions and I can play if we have tools here. Let's play the second one, hopefully this works. This is our tutorial. You can, if you go and look at our website, you can, or then it doesn't work, I don't know. Let's see what happens. But any questions? The thing what I hope you take from here is that when you want to go in your Agile, Scrum, or whatever you are doing in your organization to be more innovative and to train new things, start to think about these behavioral things and how to change the behavioral patterns, because that's the way how you can get more insights, more competencies, more tacit knowledge out of your own team and out of your people, and also utilize people's knowledge outside of your normal team environment. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes?
What do you simulate in sprints?
In sprints we simulate basically how do you really solve different new challenges, how do you improve your communication, how do you see the whole sprint from different roles, for example. We don't simulate product backlog development or substance issues as such, but basically we start from planning phase, and the idea is that people learn how to really discuss the planning before really saying that okay, we go and work. And the same for daily Scrum, the same for if we have a new customer upcoming to our premises, or we need to go and visit some totally new places, that what are the things we need to take into account. And the one idea is that we really try to get people's tacit knowledge out so that people have plenty of experiences, and in simulations it's easier for them to really use these experiences than for example that we ask that what have you learned in your previous trainings with your customer. Any other comments? Yes. Yeah.
Do you see any tendencies in changing the organization's roles in the 10 or 20 years?
Yeah. Changing the organization and how they develop. One thing I didn't say where these kind of tools help, and anonymity helps, is that in organizations where there is a competition, or where there are different departments or product areas or whatever we call them, there may be plenty of also this kind of silos and silo thinking. And if you have a company which is in trouble, especially, or we need to find and we need to develop something, new businesses. The only thing which we really can do is really get all the knowledge we have in the company, because there we can really get the new business ideas. And the good thing in this kind of environments are that if somebody is throwing in new idea, you can't say that it's a bad idea because it's coming from the wrong department or wrong product area or whatever you call it, from the wrong side of the company or coming from outside. And that's why it's a good tool for management teams, because management teams, the people normally think about their own businesses and not so much the whole company, if to be honest for in this. Any other comments, questions? Did I answer to your question, comment? Yeah.
Organizations rule waste, so you have very tight rule, and so you can't, if you no answer, you just can't tell if it doesn't fit the role.
Oh yeah. That's
It's possible that just evolution, then there will be some change.
I hope there will be change. Yeah. I hope there will be change in the future, that we don't look at the, how can I say this, continual, very stepwise development or cost cutting, but we really start to innovate new things, because that's are the things where we can really grow our business and get ourselves out from the really being very tight.